Welcome to this episode of Forgiving the Girl Inside, a Matter of the Heart. I'm your hostess, Lisa Drennon, and today we have the beautiful Jenn Smrz with us, a wellness and holistic coach. She is a 3-time breast cancer survivor. She loves fitness yoga, and she is an instructor with that modality. She's a mom to 2 competitive hockey players, and she has been through an incredible healing journey story. And a change that happened to her around her 41st birthday is a story that we're going to hear today, her experience, all the details that happened to have her be on this healing journey where she finally forgave herself. So thank you so much, Jenn, for being here. Excited to hear your story.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, hockey mom indeed. Yes, I'm just heading out to a hockey tournament this afternoon.
Oh, wonderful. So tell us a little bit about what happened, like before you were diagnosed with cancer. I mean, have you always been a wellness coach, or is it something that happened because of your health experience?
Yeah, actually, it did. It came out of my experience, which we'll get into more detail, as well as the pandemic last I guess in March of 2020. So that's when I sort of switched gears. I've been in the fitness world, probably since I was 17. I think that was one of my first part-time jobs, and it's just continued. It's a passion. I love to do it, whether it's fitness instructing, personal training, or training in yoga. So that sort of led me, because of that passion, I think it led me or helped lead me to the wellness coach, as well as other circumstances.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about what your darkest moment was.
Yeah, so moments would be a bigger or more realistic. When, I guess, certainly being diagnosed with breast cancer, and that was 2 years ago in May. It's not in our family history, and being fit and eating well, it was a shock to myself, my family. So that hit me hard, but things happened really, really fast. So I got the news May 28th. My first surgery was literally 2 weeks later. So I kept myself busy. I, was subbing, extra classes just so that my evenings, I wasn't spending time worrying. I just was going out and instructing. And then I had my first surgery, within 2 weeks had my second surgery. So they didn't see a tumor that was deeper. And after they got the pathology reports, that's when that was discovered. So that was all within a month. 2 surgeries, being told, you have breast cancer. And that brought us, I guess, to the beginning of July. So I was very fortunate. I had the summer to sort of recover. Started my chemo treatments in August, and that went for 5 months. And my spirits surprisingly were pretty good. I chose to cut my hair really short so that I, had a little control there. Yes, still emotional, but, felt I had control, got through, I believe, 4 chemo treatments, probably until about mid-October, and was still instructing. And again, my spirits were good. I think that's when it started to hit me. One, trying to teach classes and realizing I don't have the strength. I mean, at this point I had no hair. So, you're trying to wear scarves, and I didn't attempt the wigs in the classes because I was too afraid that would fall off, but just scarves and hats. It wasn't really the look that I was going for. And my strength, my energy, and motivation in general took a dive. And I think that was probably my lowest point. I could feel my emotions going down as well. So both mentally, physically, and emotionally, it really hit me probably that October. And it was a rough go until the end of my chemo, which brought me to a week before Christmas in 2019.
Wow.
So yeah, I would say those were my darkest months. Still trying to be positive for the kids, yet it wasn't even the cancer treatments. I think it was just, I'm a worrier in general. So, I over worry, and then, depression and anxiety certainly can kick in. So that was when it was the worst for me.
And then I take it you had support, so you had a system put into place to help you with those emotions. I can't even imagine what was going through your head and dealing with all that, and then looking in the mirror and not seeing you. You're just seeing like
Right.
this person that's going through this process, and the emotions had to be so all over the place.
You know what they really were, and as you mentioned, I was fortunate that I had a variety of support in different ways. I mean, the hockey community is incredible. The parents would step up and help with driving, and I honestly, I think I only missed 2 games throughout all this, but I didn't necessarily drive to all the practices. And even driving was tiring, right? If it was a treatment day or just after, I would be tired to just drive. So parents would, pick myself and my son up, whoever was playing, and that was really helpful. I had friends that set up a meal train. So twice a week we had, a meal that I didn't have to worry about. As well as another group collected money for house cleaning. So that was just incredible. My husband was just trying to run the ship, right? Take care of the boys and the things at home, because my family is about an hour away. But I also had them to come out if I really needed them, or at least to check in on me, it seems silly, but that phone call means a lot, right? It just that you're not going through it alone.
Yeah, absolutely. So before this healing journey began, you were an over worrier. You would react without thinking things through. And about 4 months before your 41st birthday, you had your first real experience with high anxiety and depression. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, I was very adamant that that's not what I was going through. How could I be depressed? I had 2 part-time jobs, but I felt like I was a stay-at-home mom. My kids are healthy, life is good. How could I be depressed? I can't be. And I'm also someone that doesn't like taking pills. If I have a headache, it's probably because I didn't drink enough water, and I'll use peppermint oil. I'm just not, I try to do things holistically. So being framed in, that you're depressed or anxious, I didn't like that title. Yet I, in total, probably went to close to 2 months without sleeping through the night. So when people say, when did you really know that you were in trouble? It wasn't until probably mid-February, as you mentioned, a few months before my 41st birthday, when I wasn't sleeping. I was continuing career consulting, teaching my classes, continuing with life, essentially, just wasn't sleeping. And it was one day walking my kids to school, that a friend who grew up with her mom dealing with depression just knew I wasn't right. So she walked back to the house and said, "We're going to the doctor." And my family doctor, she too knew the signs. I was the one that was a little naive to it. Although I don't like pills, I just wanted something to take so that I could get a good night's sleep. Because for anyone that doesn't get a good night's sleep, it could be one night and you don't feel yourself. So never mind compounded over months. But my doctor wasn't willing to give that, which was good, but it wasn't the response I wanted. She knew that I had to be on medication, and I really did fight it. So I think everything's a mental game. If you fight and say, well, I don't need this pill, even though I was taking them, it took even longer for it to work for me. And for anyone that hasn't been on anxiety or depression pills, they can take up to 6 weeks. And one day feeling the way you do feels like an eternity. So to have to wait 6 to 8 weeks is a long time to not feel yourself and be in those dark moments.
Yeah, that is, especially you come a whole being, your mind, body. So your change after your surgery, but what was the trigger?
You know what? I think, although I don't consider myself a perfectionist by any means, I think my expectations of myself were very high. So I wanted, to make everything from scratch for my kids. I wanted a clean house. I wanted to be fit. I wanted, I don't mean everything to look perfect, but I had these high standards, and we went from having 2 young boys that weren't in competitive sports to having 2 boys in competitive rep hockey, where it's divide and conquer for anyone that has kids in any competitive sport. So I think I went from being able to do everything, to, wow, how am I going to accomplish all of this and maintain things still working, getting everything done essentially. And I think that's my trigger. Trying to be the best mom and be there for your kids. So when all those little pieces, I had to learn that it's okay if you go out for dinner and you don't eat as well, or if you don't make something from scratch. So that it was a learning process for me, and also realizing that your thoughts, whatever you're worried about, they are just thoughts. They might not be facts. And if it's something that you cannot change, then it's not worth worrying about. If you can change it, then great. Then maybe you can, figure out and brainstorm, figure out how you're going to get through. But if it's something out of your control, it really isn't worth the worry.
Yeah, our thoughts are so important.
Oh.
And, I'm an energetic mindset mentor, so I'm always talking about, if thoughts were a person and came knocking on your door, would you let them in? And we just need to captivate our thoughts and really process them and understand them. And,
Right.
and look at it. Is it a circumstance that you can change? Or go through that positive attitude, what's going to happen, just have that inner strength and not ignore it, and then they can have you. Oh, there. Silent moment.
There we go.
You froze.
We're
Lost
back.
your phone moment. Such is life in technology world.
I was just going to say that's something that we can't control. So
that's right. There's a perfect example. And what do? You just go. I'm at that moment, I like to call it the blue zone, where you're serene and calm despite your circumstances.
You know what? I'm sorry, Lisa. It cut out, so I actually missed all of that.
Okay, no worries. So what kind of modality did you implement to help you process the things that you were going through emotionally and physically?
Yeah, so I learned very quickly who I could rely on, and I don't mean that in a way to put anyone down. However, everyone seems to understand and is very empathetic to cancer, for instance, right? And people, came rushing in. On the flip side, I think dealing with mental health, it's not well understood. So I knew who my team was, who I could rely on and talk to about, and I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. So that was really key for me, having my the support team that I knew that I could reach out to, and told them how they can help me, even whether it was a check-in or getting me out of the house or whatever the case would be. The other piece that is really important for myself is to do something physical. So, I mean, there would definitely be times that you didn't want to, but getting out of the house, going for a walk, being surrounded by nature, it always seems to help me. Even if you are worrying, it just is a mindful act. And, whenever those thoughts would come in, I would try to regroup and focus back on, what am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I, almost back to the senses. That I felt that was very helpful. Deep breathing. I mean, it seems so simple. We need to breathe to live. However, oftentimes when I would get myself all worked up, you're almost hyperventilating. So just slowing things down. So if the kids came in the door and, you know, everything's gone crazy for 5 minutes, just either step away or in the moment, take a few deep breaths. And that in itself, I've used that for years now. And it really is a great way to, you know, calm yourself down, be able to not react, because that seems to be my tendency too. Something's happening and I react, and then you sort of want to backpedal, and you can't always. So that has been very helpful. Fortunately, I love yoga, so using yoga and the poses and trying to, you know, connect with the mind and body was and still is something that I do on a daily basis.
Yeah, so the breath work is so incredible to help. I'm a certified Aroma freedom practitioner, and we use Young Living oils to help people. I do it myself as well, to calm the nerves, to process emotions that we may not have processed initially, you know, because we're, you know, a stuffer or whatever. So yeah, the breath work and yoga is so important. What advice would you give somebody that has a similar experience of yourself? What would be the one thing that they could do?
You know what, I think having an action plan. So having them sit down and determine what their triggers are, because all of us do have triggers, and really knowing what they are, almost the warning signs, so that you can have a plan in place on how you're going to, you know, what's going to be the next course of action. For myself, it's, you know, getting out in nature, but for other people, it might be getting away or reading a book, but just knowing what your triggers are, knowing those warning signs, and having a plan in place, I think would be really important for anyone.
Okay, our internet is really messing us up here. Technical difficulties.
Yeah,
strategic plan in process and
Lisa, sorry, I can't hear you at all or see you.
Okay, we are back.
Hey, there we are.
Some editing on this video.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah. I don't know whose end it is. I think it was mine. So we'll just go back to the modality that you use. So I think that's where we lost you.
Yeah, so I would say, and I was able to be a part of a few different sessions that I would go to, whether it was support or DBT or CBT, and one of the areas was to know your triggers or warning signs. Like for myself, it's when I really start to worry, or when I'm not sleeping, when I'm more agitated. So those are sort of my warning signs, and now I have an action plan as to how I'm going to handle that. So like any plan, it is good to have something in place so that you hopefully when you get those warning signs, you identify them. Okay, yeah, I'm starting to worry a little bit, and this is what I'm going to do, whether it's a distract or yoga, go for a walk. I think having those things in place hopefully will help reduce the chances of it getting into something that's going to last longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a strategic plan in place is so helpful. So then when you can listen to your body and stop and think, what's going on? Like, I wake up every morning and do like a self-assessment, like, how am I feeling?
Yes.
And then I identify the feeling. And if it's a low feeling, I, do an aroma reset and take care of it. My breath work really helps boost my energy levels and start giving thanks, and just being thankful for the breath of life and for the beautiful sunshine, and just naming the things as you walk through the house. The ability to use two hands at once is fantastic. I'm really missing my other hand right now.
Arm.
But yeah. So, just appreciating the little things like that you take for granted is a wonderful way to help balance our mind, body, and soul. So if you were to give a piece of advice to somebody going through something similar, what would that advice be?
You know what, I really like what you just described, and that's really what I do as well. So before I get out of bed each morning, and I'm doing it laying down, you can do it sitting up, and I practice that deep breathing. So I'll, for about 5 minutes, I'll do the deep belly breath. As you say, sort of do a body scan. How am I feeling? Am I worrying? Am I feeling any tension? And go through that. And at the same time, I know a lot of people use a gratitude journal. I personally just do it in my head. And it's what went well the day before. And it doesn't have to be anything, it doesn't have to be big. And I think that's where people think everything has to be big. From the last 2 years of going through my cancer experience, I realized the little things like the sun out, or the smell of the fresh coffee downstairs, little things can be really gratifying and rewarding as well. So I would say, you don't have to do it the way I do in the morning and the deep breathing, but find something, a routine that you can do on a daily basis, so that you have that appreciation, and that you have a chance to acknowledge how you're feeling and calm your emotions down, and then be able to start your day on a positive note.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes. And just implementing that. And it's so simple. I like to kiss everything, keep it super simple. And this strategy is so simple to implement, but you also need an accountability partner. You need that coach, you need that mentor to walk you through that. So
Absolutely.
That's your specialty. So you take care of the wellness part of it. What kind of a program do you offer?
Oh, there we go.
Rose again. So what kind of a coaching program do you offer with your wellness and holistic coaching?
Yes, so I got into it again. It was last year when I had a little bit more time on my hands with not going to the hospital, and both my streams of income came to a halt during COVID. So I had the opportunity of speaking with various naturopaths, holistic healers, and doing my own research on, what could I have prevented my diagnosis? And who knows if we could have, but I learned of many connections between the products that we use in our households that have dangerous toxins and chemicals, linked to things like mental health, lung disease, cancers, autisms, a number of ailments that have been around for forever, however, seem to be a lot more prevalent. So learning this and having gone through both cancer and mental health, that was a huge eye opener for me. So although I've used natural beauty products for years, as well as essential oils, I was a little ignorant to the fact of, toothpaste or dish detergent or things like that too could be dangerous. In my research, I learned that it only takes 26 seconds for whatever's in the air to land on the skin and eventually get into the bloodstream. So that's pretty scary. So after learning about that, I went on my own little journey of discovery and doing podcasts such as this or guest speaking events just to educate people, because I am not here to claim that my cancer or my anxiety, worrying, depression was caused by the household products. I mean, that's I wouldn't make that claim. However, if I can avoid ever going through either experiences again, or help anyone else not go through it, that's my goal. So by just sharing what I've learned and my experience, I'm hoping other people can make educated choices I personally, with having 3 tumors within 12 months, have chosen to detox my entire home, and everything is now natural. Not everyone's going to go that route, and that's again, it's people can make their own choices. But when I learned all of this, that was my personal choice. So what I was also wanting is, I found it very unfair that to live with natural products or even buy organic food, it's out of reach for so many because of the price point. So I researched various companies and where natural products are being sold, to try to determine, is there a way that this can be offered in a more affordable manner? And that's when I stumbled upon an online wellness company that is able to offer natural household products, but at a wholesale price, because they don't advertise and they don't have a warehouse. It's an online store where it's manufactured and then delivered straight to the customers. And when I learned of that, that's sort of where I knew I wanted to pursue and carry on my career. And I've been doing it for about 6 months now, and it's been fantastic.
What's that company?
It's Melaleuca.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of it. Actually,
Yeah.
one of my friends at work does that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah. It's cool. Not many people have heard of it, but they have been around for 35 years. And I believe in the products. They're fantastic. The price point is great, and really everyone has a use for them. Everyone brushes their teeth, does their laundry, and hopefully showers. So we've got a product for everyone.
Yeah, hopefully they shower. I don't know, if they're out camping, they might not be. Well, thank you so much for sharing your healing journey. You went through a lot in such a short time, and I can see just your inner strength shining through, and your diligence, and just wanting to help others be able to have that positive energy through the breath work is just so important. So I love what you're doing. For our audience, anyone out there watching or listening to this interview, you can connect with Jenn. I will put the description I will put her links. She is on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and we'll get those links in there. And if you know anyone who can benefit from this story, from Jenn's story, please share this podcast with them. And remember, it's all a matter of the heart.